All right, episode 2 of whatever we're gonna call this. Let's do this. The Murcie's still here. I did not sell it. Still going back and forth on my highball offer.
They want to negotiate using hostility and rudeness. Well, they picked the wrong guy.
Today we're gonna talk about
knowledge.
Maintenance costs of the Murcielago. I've owned it almost 3 years. We manual swapped it. We've driven it about 6,000 miles. The reputation is these cars are gonna be difficult to own. Is that the truth? We'll talk about that and more on vlog number 2 here on Crazy Nick's channel. All right, but first, a little context here because I've been more or less daily driving this car for the last 3 years. What does that mean? Well, 5,510 miles, give or take, since I acquired it. Driving it at least once a week, often more, usually a weekly cars and coffee plus 1 to 2 other drives. Date nights. Even a couple Home Depot runs, really. So the car, it gets around. I have a lot of fun with it. You could even say it's a bit of a family car.
I like this ride.
I am careful when I drive it that there's decent parking. It's not gonna rain. I'm smart about it.
Knowledge.
But I am driving it more or less like a normal car. A normal car that gets a lot of attention.
Not to show off, it's again about the knowledge.
And doesn't have a roof. But otherwise, a pretty normal car. So needless to say, it's a car that gets driven. I love it.
Fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills.
But I think I'm a good use case for if you take a car like this and you drive it on a near daily basis or at least a weekly basis, what can you expect in terms of maintenance costs? So that brings us to the question, how much have I spent daily driving this Murcielago in terms of maintenance and ownership costs? If I only look at those costs, the operating costs, if I were to keep it bone stock, it would have been $16,959. About $10,000 of that was the starter motor. So really, it would have been $7 grand if it weren't for that gotcha. But we can't play that game because there's always going to be one gotcha in there. So $17,000 over 3 years, which is roughly $5,600 per year in maintenance and upkeep. Now that's a big number compared to a Cayenne or a normal car, but also compared to like my Bentley Arnage, my Maserati Quattroporte, my Land Rover, etc. About half of what I spend per year on a hoopty project car that costs less. So for a car of this caliber, for having a V12 with no roof, all of that, I feel like that's actually pretty reasonable, that you can drive this car, and actually the more you drive it, I do think the better it behaves. So really not that bad of a number. That also included new tires. The tires were almost $3,000 because Pirelli only makes them in batches. No one really makes an 18 by 13 inch wide wheel / tire combo. So finding the tires is a bit of a pain and very expensive. That's a new set of tires, that's oil changes, brake fluid flushes, not deferring anything, not skipping any bills, saying, please take care of it. So you could probably do a lot better if you live in somewhere like Kansas and you got someone like the car wizard taking care of you. The 2 big things you do have to watch out for though that will totally mess up your numbers. If you need a new clutch, like I said, you're probably in at 15 grand plus, at which point you probably ought to just consider manual swapping it. Likewise, around 50,000 miles, although it varies a ton, you may need to get a valve adjustment. And the valve adjustment requires a lot of work. Very few people really know how to do this well. I've heard to budget between 30 to 50 grand for that. If you drive it 100,000 miles, you might need to do that twice. So amortize that over the cost of the entire ownership experience. If every 50,000 miles you got to dump 50 grand into it, okay, that's about $1,000 for every 1,000 miles that you should be putting aside for something like that. But again, your mileage may vary. It may need it by 50,000. It may need it sooner. It may need it later. Depends on how well they adjusted everything from the factory, which I've heard varied from day to day, as well as how well you drive it and maintain it and so on. So why does this car have such a bad reputation for maintenance? Well, in my 3 years of ownership, I think it's mostly unjustified, but there's a couple of reasons why I do think it's also kind of legit. Let's start with the parts costs. It is absolutely insane what it costs to get some parts for this car. In no particular order here, headlights. They're made out of glass, it's not a plastic cover. $13,243.80 per side. So that means you're about 27 grand in new headlights should you hit a deer or something. A new clutch. It used to be when I got this car, people said budget $7,500 for a clutch job, including the engine out maintenance. Not anymore, just the parts for a clutch is $8,534.87, and a throwout bearing, which you should probably do while you're in there, another $4,948.08. So basically, you're at almost double what I had originally budgeted for a clutch each time just in parts. That's not to take the engine out. I found a spare engine on Scuderia Parts for $102,686.34. Hopefully you don't need that. A Roadster roof. If you lose that roof, $14,638.95. A new windshield. If you get like a chip or you hit that deer again or whatever, it is $13,001.16. That does not include installation, of which you have to take apart the entire dashboard and in the surrounding area, which I've been told is another 5 to 10 grand of install. So let's call it 20 grand for a new windshield if you need it. E-gear system. I've been told I could sell the parts left over for my e-gear actuator for 15 to 20 grand. A left side mirror, so the driver's side, this doesn't make any sense to me. Driver's side is $21,506.85. However, the passenger side is a bargain, only $5,641.26. Either way, if you just sum up the parts here, you're at 200K or so in random parts. And you take it throughout the entire car. Every single thing you see in here, just take the price you think it should cost on a normal car and multiply it by 10, and then throw in some random integers. You're probably in the right ballpark. Absolutely insane. My starter motor, when it went out, was really the only heartbreaker here. Other common failure points to watch out for, besides the clutch, which on an e-gear car can only last about 10,000 miles, and like I said, is probably gonna set you back closer to 15 to 20 grand nowadays, at which point you're just way better off manual swapping it. The axle lift is hydraulic. It's known to also be a little finicky, and I'm told that that can be just an absolute nightmare to work on and could also cost a ton of money. So budget for that. Otherwise, try to buy a nice one and you're not constantly chasing issue to issue to issue. It's just a matter of keeping it nice. The other challenging part is finding people who will work on this. My local dealership, Lamborghini of San Diego, won't even do an oil change on this because they claim there's too high of a chance that maybe they find something else while you're in there and they'd have to order parts and it would tie up a lift for weeks. I go to a specialist about an hour away who retired from Lamborghini Orange County and started his own shop. He was trained in period working on these cars. They are great, other than they're very expensive and very inconvenient. But factor in that you're gonna pay more for labor. It's gonna be hard to find people who know what they're doing. You may struggle a little bit with the maintenance when you need it. But if the car's maintained well and you have a qualified shop nearby, there's really nothing to be afraid of. In fact, you can DIY a lot more than you think. And I'll show you 2 recent fixes next. The first issue I've had post-swap popped up. We had an air light come on for the intake air temperature. You can see it down there. Basically, it had come unclipped and was resting on top of the engine itself. So that was causing it to throw a code because the reading was too hot. And so all I had to do was clip it back on. Code is gone, car is good again. The only other major DIY thing I've done myself was to do the spark plugs and coil packs. Exotic car owners are kind of lame. They never work on their own car. So I got a quote for 4 grand to do coil packs. Coil packs, it's an Audi, it's a VW. I've done them before. We're gonna do them again, babies. And just like that, first coil pack removed. We're 30 minutes in. There's 12 of them. This was definitely the easiest one to get out. It's got some stuff on it. It's probably an original part, so just based on age alone, it's 20 years old and worth the shot. The parts are like $300 new from Lamborghini. I bought the generic for $100 each, but times 12, that saves you 2,000 bucks by doing it yourself and finding the right part number. All right, all 6 on the easy side are in. That took 45 minutes, which wasn't bad at all. The other side's gonna be harder, and I haven't put on like the covers and trims yet because I wanna do a startup and see if it worked. Progress check-in. I'm using my Bentley to make it nice and easy to get in here. And we have 4 on this side done, 6 on that side done. So for the kids that were remedial math, that is 10 out of 12. The last 2 though are gonna be the hardest and I'm not looking forward to it. The final countdown, baby. All right, I just tried as hard as I could to trigger a check engine light. No luck, it's all clear. The initial check engine light was because I forgot to fully plug in 1 spark plug wire or ignition coil wire. It just didn't snap into place. And that was making the engine not happy, but oh, it's so happy right now. And so am I.
Meanwhile.
Bye bye Bentley. I feel like we've been here before. But I'm just so happy to get this thing out of here. Hopefully this is a simple fix and not a catastrophic one, but either way, time will tell. And what is this new ding? Oh, that sucks. Definitely wasn't there before. While the Bentley's gone, I'm gonna give a little love to the Cayenne. It has been getting crapped on by birds non-stop for whatever reason. I need to trim the tree or find the nest.
We were in the trust tree in the nest, are we not?
But I'm just gonna try to polish this hood, which is swirled like crazy, to get it looking presentable and re-ceramic coated. It's been about 5 years since I coated it. They say a coating lasts about 5 years, and I can confirm that coating's doing almost nothing now. Boom, all done. Got that project, got the Murcie still sitting pretty and being enjoyable. The Multipla, quick update on that. It is on a boat. The boat I was told it was on is now on the way to Japan after stopping in LA. So I hope it got off the boat, but I was told it was supposed to go to Long Beach and not North LA. So there you have it, video number 2. The Murcie's in limbo. I don't know if I'm gonna sell it or keep it. The Multipla's in limbo. It might be heading to Japan, or it might be somewhere in North LA, not quite sure, or a totally different boat. No one knows. We've got the Bentley, which just got picked up, also in limbo. I talked to the shop just a minute ago and they said, we think it's a wiring issue, but it's turning off. So they've so far told me nothing and said to brace myself for 3 to 5 grand worth of repair bills, which absolutely sucks. That totally blows out my budget, but I don't know what else I can do. It's certainly worth more running than it is not. So I gotta keep digging deep into that hole. So that leaves pretty much the Cayenne as my only functioning vehicle where I don't have something in limbo, but I'm here for it. Maybe I need to just buy yet another vehicle to offset all the other cars in limbo. So
It's like the billionaire Warren Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn.
looking for an old Land Rover. I miss my P38. Also looking for SRT10, some fun stuff. So hit me in the comments if you got a fun project car. I'm looking for something that needs a little TLC, but isn't like non-running, completely broke. I'm not Tavares, I'm not Matt Armstrong. I can't save your damaged, salvaged, flood-titled, non-running car. But if it needs a little TLC and someone's stupid enough to try it, holler at your boy. Peace.